So in this video, we're gonna see some functionalities that we're gonna be using that exist in the NLTK. But before that, I wanted to mention in the previous video, I imported an NLTK, and then I was looking for a function that I could call inside the NLTK package. So two things are worth noting here. So one of them is that if I press the tab button, the tab key in my keyboard, then I can see a lot of things that are inside this package. So this is a huge package, so there are lots and lots and lots of stuff here inside. One of them is the download function that we actually called in the previous video. So I was looking for a function, so here is a function that we actually used that is inside the NLTK package. So we used this function to download something that I'm calling packages. And the problem here is that this word package is actually being overloaded with lots of meanings. So when I normally speak about packages, I'm going to be talking about things like the NLTK here that you can import, that you can use the word import with. Jupyter, which is something that you can pip install. I might use the word package too, but normally I'm going to be using the word package for these things. So the thing is that from the NLTK you can download these NLTK packages or something, these things that are here that are called packages. So when I say Gutenberg here, it is a package, so it calls it a package, but these are not the same as those packages because I cannot do something like NLTK, import NLTK.Gutenberg. This gives me an error, or import Gutenberg. This also gives me an error. So with this out of the way, we can start talking about one important package or sub-package in the NLTK called the NLTK book package. So when I run this, it will load several books, several texts here that we're going to be using as examples. So just to explain, this is why we downloaded all those NLTK download and several strings here, because they are required for us to be able to import these texts, which we are going to be using as examples here. So if we didn't download them before, then we were going to get an error here saying, oh, couldn't find package blah. So as you can see, there are several types of texts here. So for example, here we have a book transcription, the Monty Python, the Holy Grail. Here we have several newspapers. We have the Book of Genesis, we have chat communications, etc., etc. So how do we access them? We can access them by saying nltk.book, like in the same way that we did before. So this is the name of the package, dot the name of another package that is inside this package, and then the name, say for example text 7, which are the Wall Street journals. So I'm going to refer to so that I don't have to keep writing this name every time. I'm gonna assign this thing to this variable here called Wall Street, and from now on I can just call I can just use this variable called Wall Street instead of this. So what happens? What is this Wall Street thing? So if I just look at this variable, you're going to see that this is a variable of the type text. And it has a not so fancy way of printing itself onto the screen, but we're going to see in more details how to access them in a moment. So as I said, this variable is of the type text, and we can prove this by actually checking using the function type here and seeing that it is of the type NLTK text. This variable also has a len function, and as you can see, it has 100,000 elements. But strangely, when I try to print it, let me just print it here. I just get the text here. So how do we access each of these elements? One way we can access them is using is treating it as if it were a list. So I can, for example, take the first 10 elements by doing this, or the first 100 elements, for example, by taking from the element 0 to the element 100 here. And of course, I can just assign to a variable called first words these elements. And now my first words variable contains all of these elements. Now I'm wondering what is the type of this first words, if it's a list. Oh, it is a list. I was wondering if it was a list or a variable of the type text too. Now, of course, what is a word is a topic of debate, and we are going to come back to this topic in a subsequent class. But let's take a look at some things that we can do with this variable Wall Street that can be useful somehow. So one thing that we can do is to access all the elements of this Wall Street text variable in a sorted way. So if I put this inside this sorted function, then it gives me all the words, quote unquote words, inside this text. And as you can see here, we get the same word over and over and over again. So maybe we want to clear out the repeated words so that we can have a notion of what are the kinds of words that are used in the Wall Street Journal. So one way we can do this is by using a data structure called set. So this data structure is just like a list, but it is unordered, and it eliminates repeated items. It is literally a set, a mathematics set, the one that we learn in school, or I don't know, in our classes related to maths. So if we use this set data structure and we use Wall Street, the Wall Street variable, as an input variable to this set data structure, then it's going to create a new data structure that contains all the words inside this Wall Street variable, but then it's all the unique words. So there are no repeated elements anymore, and there is no order either, actually. So we might want to then access them in a sorted way so that we know, like, maybe we can create a dictionary or a list of all the words in a certain way, in a certain sorted way. And then if we do this, then we get a list, an ordered list of all the words used in the Wall Street Journal in this text here. I don't know when it was collected, when exactly these Wall Street journals were written, but anyway. So something else we can do is, instead of using the word sorted here, we can take this set here, and this set data structure, it also has a len property. So I can calculate the len. I can call this len function passing a set as input, and it will give me an output that is the number of elements inside this set. So what we can see here is that out of all those, how many were they? 100,676 words that were used in this Wall Street Journal series that it is here. We get 12,408 unique words. So this, as something that we might be interested in doing, for example, which is our first maybe interesting language processing thing, is that we can have a very simple notion of lexical diversity, like quote unquote lexical diversity, by taking this calculation. I'll just copy this here. and dividing by the length of the variable of the Wall Street itself. And then we can see that so this would be a number that it would be close to 1 whenever the words are very diverse, like the kinds of words that are used are very diverse. So it would be like there is almost never any repetition, and it would be very close to 0 when the words are always the same, and the text is very doesn't use lots of different words to express to express its ideas. So it uses all the same vocabulary over and over and over again. So this is hopefully the first interesting thing that we can be doing, that we are doing with the NLTK here. So another hopefully interesting thing we can do is to compare this lexical diversity with that of maybe an artistic book. So here we have the text 1 was the Moby Dick text, well, the Moby Dick book. So let's access this book. We access it using this string that looks like this one, only instead of text 7, we're gonna use text 1. So I'm gonna copy this here into the very end there. So I will access it, calling it Moby Dick and text 1. And I will do the same calculation here and see how these two compare. So Moby Dick, and it looks like Moby Dick was less diverse than the Wall Street Journal, which is quite unexpected to me. Of course, since these are very small samples, then we cannot say much. It would be much more interesting if we collected a very huge collection of newspapers and a huge collection of books, or maybe collection of books of a certain author who was very prolific, and then we make these kinds of comparisons, and then we are going to be able to say something more interesting about how newspapers, how the genre newspapers relates to the genre of artistic books in their lexical diversity. Finally, there is one last thing that we can do with these text variables, and which is the last thing we're going to be doing in this video, which is we can use we can, for example, take the Wall Street text here, and we can use the function count. And as you can see here, this is a method. This is a function that I call that is part of this variable. Similar to how strings were in the Python tutorial that, if you remember, if you took a look at the Python tutorial that I left there in the OLAT. So this count variable, we can pass to it a string. So let's say I'm looking for the word Brazil, and it will tell me that Brazil appears 9 times in this Wall Street text that we have here. We can also look for the first occurrence of this Brazil of the string Brazil using the function index, and it will tell me that this is the element where Brazil occurs. So this means that if I do Wall Street of 5390, I believe I'm gonna get Brazil. Yes. So I can even get a notion about the context where this word appeared by doing this. And then I say, 5 other countries, China, Thailand, India, Brazil, and Mexico, will remain on that so-called priority. I don't know how the sentence is going to go on. So that is it for this video. I just wanted to mention this, almost exactly this script that I'm following in this video is available in the OLAT as a text, as an intro to NLTK text. and there you're gonna find links to many other resources. So for example, one thing that you're gonna see is that a lot of the discussion in this class is based on the chapter 1 of the NLTK book, and there is a link there that you can find where you're gonna see it is a book that tries to teach Python based like with the NLTK as a reference for useful things that people can do. So you can use that book too if you want to learn a little more about the NLTK and Python.